Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. I've been calling for this Viddal Riley-Cheavon Clarke fight for a number of years. I've always wanted to see it, and I've always favored Viddal Riley to win it. So when the fight got made, I was particularly happy because I was starting to think that the fight maybe wouldn't happen. Now, I've got nothing against Cheavon Clarke at all. I don't like him as a person any less than Viddal Riley. I don't make predictions based upon who I want to win a fight. Fanboys do that. I'm not a fanboy. My predictions are based on an objective, dispassionate, impartial assessment of the two fighters and their abilities. That's it. Many times, I will pick a fighter to win who I actually don't like, and I actually don't want to win, and vice versa. Sometimes I'll pick a fighter to lose when I actually want him to win. I do not allow who I want to win or don't want to win to influence my predictions. But this is something that fanboys really struggle with, because literally all of their predictions are based upon who they want to win a fight. They can't even get their heads around the concept of a dispassionate, impartial prediction. They can't get their head around the concept. I say all that to talk about the madness of Viddal Riley fanboys. Because ever since putting up my prediction for Riley's fight with Cheavon Clarke this weekend, the comment section has been inundated with a steady stream of idiotic morons nitpicking things I said in that video regarding Riley's performance against Mikael Lawal. So just to recap briefly, in the video I said that Riley's performance was extremely negative, words to that effect. And I said that he claimed some type of injury. I couldn't remember the exact nature of the injury. I literally cover thousands of fights with thousands of different fighters on this channel. I'm not going to remember the exact nature of every single person's injury. It was some Riley fanboy idiot with an anime avatar claiming I'm a casual because I couldn't remember the specific nature of Riley's injury. I'm not a Riley fanboy, you donut. I don't follow him on social media and hang on his every word like some kind of weirdo like you do, right? I cover countless different fights and countless different fighters. This is a boxing channel. It's not a Viddal Riley fanboy channel. So anyway, in the video I stated that Riley was very negative against Lawal, and he blamed it on some kind of injury after the fact. So these Riley fanboys are rushing to the comment section, and they're having a go at me. They're totally overlooking everything else I said in the video. The fact that I'm picking Riley to win the fight. The fact that I said that Riley, in my view, is underrated by the British public. None of that matters to them. They're all honing in on the comments I made about his performance against Mikael Lawal. I mean, the way some of these idiots are carrying on, you'd think that I was picking Riley to lose. You'd have thought that I was saying he was overrated, not underrated. But such is the mind of a fanboy. You see, with fanboys, you are not allowed to critique their fighter whatsoever. You must only heap praise upon them. You must not express any type of doubt. You must look at the fighter as some type of god or demigod. This is how weird these people are. And if you don't do all those things, they're going to attack you. It's cultish behavior. You people are weird, you're stupid, and I'd have to question why you'd be so infatuated with Viddal Riley or any other boxer or public figure. It's weird. Now, not all of them were coming with this pathetic, psychotic fanboy energy. There was a couple of them who were a little bit more reasonable in their approach, who seemed to be calmly pointing out that Viddal Riley cracked some ribs in the first round against Mikael Lawal. I say calmly because they're making out as though cracked ribs in boxing are some type of debilitating injury. Newsflash, they're not. How do I know this? Because I've cracked ribs. For those of you who are not familiar with me, I boxed as an amateur for over a decade. I've had cracked ribs. During a fight, you barely even feel it because of the adrenaline. We're not talking about ribs being snapped in half. I saw the doctor examining Viddal Riley after people pointed this stuff out in the comment section of my prediction video. I went to Viddal Riley's channel and I saw the doctor examining him. We're not talking about ribs snapped in half. No, we're talking about hairline fractures in the ribs. That is a common boxing injury. It's nothing extraordinary. Only fanboy casuals are under the impression that it's extraordinary. It's not. I've cracked ribs when I was boxing, as in had my ribs cracked. But the adrenaline dulls the pain significantly. It's after the fight when you feel all the pain. And yes, it is agony after the fact. But there's this idea that Viddal Riley did well to even go the distance with such an injury. Fighters go the distance with those type of injuries all the time. It's not extraordinary at all that Viddal Riley went the distance with some hairline fractures in his ribs. Nothing extraordinary about that whatsoever. I remember Mike Tyson years ago, this was back in the 90s, talking about his fight with Bone Crusher Smith. This was in one of the boxing publications at the time. Ring Magazine, KO Magazine, Boxing Illustrated, one of them. It's when he was fresh out of prison from the Desiree Washington thing. And he was basically commenting on every single one of his fights to date in this giant magazine piece about him. And of the Bone Crusher Smith fight, he said, even though we had a hog fest, I managed to break some of his ribs. Words to that effect. So Bone Crusher Smith, ironically named, right, managed to go the distance with Mike Tyson, one of the most ferocious punchers in boxing history, in his prime, despite having cracked ribs. Folks, it's not some extraordinary feat that people are making it out to be. You know, some of these Riley fanboys are acting like I don't know ish about boxing. Okay, well, what I want you to do is go back to Viddal Riley's videos. And I got nothing against Viddal Riley. I'm picking him to beat Cheavon Clarke. I'm saying he's underrated by the British public. That's my view on Viddal Riley. My issue is with some of his fans. But just as a quick measure of what I know about boxing compared to your hero, Viddal Riley, who is a professional boxer, I've never boxed as a pro, and who has a certain amount of boxing knowledge. But just quickly, Viddal Riley picked Tyson Fury to beat Alexander Usyk both times. And going into the second fight, I found it particularly extraordinary that he was so confident that Fury was going to win. He made a video with his friend on his channel saying that Usyk won't be able to raise his game to the same level as he did in the first fight because the first fight took too much out of him. I was baffled by that take. I mentioned it in one of my videos at the time. I was baffled by Viddal Riley's take on the rematch because Tyson Fury took far more punishment in the first fight than Usyk did. So again, Riley picked Tyson Fury to beat Usyk in both fights, whereas I picked Alexander Usyk to beat Tyson Fury in both fights. I said he'd win on points both times, and before the first fight, I said that Tyson Fury would suffer a crisis in the form of a knockdown or a cut or something like that, somewhere around the 8th round. I was bang on. I see Alexander Usyk winning a decision here over Tyson Fury. And in the second half of the fight, Usyk is going to come on strong as Fury's legs fade. And I think that will take Usyk to another 12-round points victory. My prediction videos are still up, and Viddal Riley's prediction videos are still up. Go watch all those videos and compare. I was bang on the money, and Viddal was totally wrong both times. Now look, I get predictions wrong too. We all do. I'm not claiming to be some type of Nostradamus here. I'm just using Usyk Fury as an example to some misguided fanboys out there that I actually do know a little bit about boxing. And in this case, 2 fights between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury, which I predicted correctly and accurately, and Viddal Riley got completely wrong both times. So if I'm clueless about boxing for simply making an observation that Viddal Riley was very cautious against Mikhail Lawal, then by that very same logic, wouldn't that make your guy Riley clueless about boxing because he got the Usyk Fury predictions wrong both times? Now, I'm not saying he's clueless. I'm just using the logic of you fanboys. What you need to actually do is get a grip. And I don't mean getting a grip of Viddal Riley's dick. Get a grip of reality is what I mean. Again, fanboys struggle with the concept of objective, dispassionate, impartial analysis. They struggle with it. They can't wrap their heads around the concept. Many of them are not actually capable of it themselves. They're not capable of making a dispassionate prediction for a fight. And so, my point, despite the fact I'm picking Viddal Riley to beat Cheavon Clarke, and I said Viddal Riley is underrated by the British public in my opinion, the point I was making when I referred to his performance against Mikhail Lawal was that the jury is still out for me about Viddal Riley's heart. I'm not saying he doesn't have heart. So get it into your thick skull before you start hyperventilating. At no point have I ever said Viddal Riley doesn't have heart. I said the jury is still out for me, which means I'm not sure whether he's got the necessary heart to make it at the top level. I don't know. I'm waiting to see how he reacts when he finds himself in an extremely tough fight. It's a box that every fighter at some point needs to be able to tick if they're going to make it at the top level in boxing. Riley's no different. He hasn't had an extremely tough fight yet. He's been dominant in every fight so far, including the Lawal fight. He boxed very negatively, is what I said. I didn't say he didn't win the fight clearly on the scorecards, because he did. My post-fight video for the Mikhail Lawal fight is still up. I praised Riley's movement in that fight. I just said that he was very negative, which is 100% true. He was very negative. So as I say, he can talk about rib injuries and whatever the case may be. But until he's come through a tough competitive fight where he's maybe had to claw back from being behind on the cards, or he suffered a knockdown, or he's been hurt, etc., until he's come through a situation like that and gone on to win, then as with every other upcoming fighter, there'll be a question mark about his internal fortitude. Simple. And that question might get answered here against Cheavon Clarke. Cheavon Clarke is not as talented as Viddal Riley. Hence, I'm not picking Cheavon Clarke to win. But one thing that Cheavon Clarke has shown is what I've just described. He's ticked that box that says heart next to it. There's no doubt whatsoever that Cheavon Clarke has got the heart of a warrior. We've seen that in multiple fights now, where he's been hurt, he's been down, he's got up off the floor to battle on until the final bell, or even get a stoppage himself in some cases. The Apache fight was a slugfest, right? He was hurt in that fight, and he also hurt Apache. His sole loss was last time out. But yeah, the point I'm making is Cheavon Clarke is a very brave man, bags a heart, he's physically strong, he's a good puncher, and so potentially he could be the guy to force Viddal Riley to answer this question, whether he has the internal fortitude necessary for long-term success at the upper echelons of boxing. Clarke might be able to ask that question. I'm not saying he definitely will end up asking it. It all depends on if he can overcome Riley's talent frequently enough during the fight. Because Riley's the more talented one here. Better coordination, faster, more athletic, younger, etc. But if Clarke can, even if it's just briefly, in moments during the fight, overcome Riley's talent, get close to him, and impose himself, perhaps he can do damage. We'll see. And if he does, as I say, we'll find out how Riley reacts to it. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I did just want to address these idiotic Viddal Riley fanboys who he has attracted because of all his work with these YouTube fighters, misfits and whatnot. This is why he's got such a large number of subscribers. I think it's over 1 million on his YouTube channel, because most of these people are coming from a different world. They're not hardcore boxing fans like us. They're super duper casuals who are coming from the misfits world. That is what constitutes the majority of Viddal Riley's subscribers on his YouTube channel. That's not a diss towards him. I'm dissing some of his fans, all right? Because they're coming at me with idiotic behavior. It's not Viddal's fault, but I did want to address these fools who are barking up the wrong tree. With your pathetic little emojis and fanboy sarcasm, you'll be dealt with appropriately. And before I go, make sure you check out my most recent bit of exclusive boxing content on Patreon. It's a 3-hour film study on George Foreman. That's 3 hours of me analyzing video footage, not still images, actual video footage of the most significant fights in George Foreman's career, and explaining and breaking down what made him so effective. It wasn't just brute force and physical strength and punching power. No. Foreman had a much better boxing brain and was much more crafty and clever, even when he was young, than people realize or give him credit for. And I break it all down in a 3-hour George Foreman extravaganza on my Patreon page. If you want to access that video and many other boxing film studies I've done, as well as countless podcasts and what have you, just head on over to my Patreon page, which is called The Brotherhood of Reason, and select the tier called The Boxing Brotherhood. There's no contract, there's no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, and it's very reasonably priced. If you just want to sign up for 1 month and then check out, that's absolutely fine. So yeah, don't miss out on my George Foreman film study. You can access that and my entire back catalog for a very cheap price. It's great value. All of the links are in the description below. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Make sure you guys like this video, share it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. If you want to access this video along with hundreds of hours worth of other exclusive boxing content, as well as our members chat, just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called the Boxing Brotherhood. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store. All the links are in the description box below. And just a quick money-saving tip for Apple users. If you purchase your Patreon subscription on the desktop site or on Android, then you'll avoid the ridiculous 30% fee that Apple charges for purchases made on the iOS app. So if you're on iPhone or iPad, save yourself some money by buying your subscription on the actual Patreon website or on Android because it's a lot cheaper. Once you've made that initial purchase, you can then use the Patreon app on your iPhone or iPad thereafter to access and enjoy your content as normal.